All right, everybody. Welcome once again. My name is Brent Mosier with OpsMX. We are waiting for people to hop on here. We'll start shortly in just a minute. Good afternoon, Dave. Nice to meet you. Well, awesome. We're going to wait just about another minute here. We're starting to see a good trickle of people coming in. I don't want anybody to miss any of the excitement of the webinar today. All right, everyone. Once again, we're getting ready here to start the webinar. Hello, everybody. My name is Brent Mosier. I am the head of demand generation here at OpsMX. And I'm excited today to have Smita here present our next webinar here. I'm trying to get all this rolled out, which is around SaaS Spinnaker modernized Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Smita is the head of our solutions engineering and a certified Kubernetes administrator with a broad experience in cloud, DevOps, Spinnaker, GCP, GitOps, and has handled many different pipelines throughout her career. She's worked in multinational organizations in infrastructure maintenance and administration. Before we really get the webinar going, a little housekeeping about questions, Q&A. We'll be happy to answer any of the questions. I've seen a couple of them pop in already, and we'll be able to go through that right away. So a little bit about OpsMX. You want to change the slide here, Smita? A little bit about OpsMX. One of the biggest things we try to do at OpsMX is deliver software without human intervention, allowing computers to work as fast as you guys develop software. Some of the areas that we'll talk about today is our intelligent software platform, Autopilot, which is our intelligence layer in that, and also Enterprise for Spinnaker. You can see on the screen some of our customers that we've really helped succeed in DevOps throughout different parts of the world. And as we're going through some of this, I want to launch a poll real quick to get some feedback from some of you guys before I let Smita go through the webinar. So let's take a few minutes here and you guys can answer some of these questions for us. It kind of helps us understand the audience, what's going on, and how we can really help the organization get better. Thank you, everybody, for who's going through the poll here. We'll finish this up in just a second. We're seeing kind of a nice mix of people who are, they're playing around in DevOps, they're playing around in continuous delivery. Some of you guys are kind of kicking the tires, learning. Others are kind of on the fence right now, which is what we're seeing across the board with, most industries. Everybody wants to do CD. It's just kind of difficult to really get an understanding of where to go. All right, we'll wait about another second here on this poll, and then I'll shut up and I'll let Smita finish the presentation. All right, I'm going to end that poll, and thank you, everybody, for participating. With that, Smita, on to you.
So, thank you, Brent, for your nice introduction, and I really do appreciate it. I just wanted to thank everyone for taking time to attend. I'm sorry. I just wanted to thank everybody for taking your time to attend this demo today. Hopefully, you'll find this presentation informative, and I wanted to make sure that it happens. So we are here today to talk a little bit about Jenkins and Spinnaker. So Jenkins is a world-class CI tool, and we are not here to interfere in your Jenkins way of handling the CI. But we wanted to talk something about the CD tool, which does the continuous delivery in an easy and a seamless manner. So our intention was to demonstrate a tool that can do the CD in an easy way, and also why you should consider a tool like Spinnaker as a replacement for your continuous delivery. And the advantages that it brings to your continuous delivery. So today here I'll walk you through some of the Spinnaker core features and how to leverage the potential of both the tools, followed by questions. So as you all might have known, the Jenkins was built before the Docker, containers, and the microservice-based architecture, and even before the cloud. Basically, it was designed to handle your on-prem environments, right? Jenkins is generally the butler for your build activity, and it does a great job in its continuous integration. It has an open source core and has a wide community that can support your plugins and your script-based deployments, everything, right? I think when you started your career as a DevOps engineer, I think it was the first tool that you have got introduced to, and you wanted to craft it to suit your requirements, right? So if we start going into the Spinnaker, the first thing is the application deployment. So let us understand what the word deployment means and its complete anatomy. So the first thing is, like earlier, we used to copy the executables onto the target machine and then run or restart the service, right? So we used to use the commands to copy it, or even the shell scripts or bash scripts to do the job and load the configuration files, which restart the services. And if not loaded, we used to restart the services. And this model of deployment always has a drawback, like it expects the downtime from the engineer. So these were the earlier models of the deployments before the immutable infrastructure. But Spinnaker has redefined the definition of deployment. And if you consider the present model of deployments, if you say like Netflix, Google does hundreds and thousands of deployments to their software, and even the end user doesn't know that even the update happened to their software, because they did not the user did not face any interruption, and the flow was very smooth. So the Spinnaker is the one which natively does all those capabilities without a need to do the additional wrappers or sort of thing. So let us suppose like you have a rollback scenario, or you have a very bad code and you wanted to really roll back. You have tested your update in your dev or in the UAT, but still there are something that slipped over the tracks and entered into the production. The bug has entered into the production. So you have to decide whether it's a rollback scenario or it is the or you have to sit with the engineers and decide whether it's a forward fix or you have to push an upgrade on top of the present release. So with all these things, if you're using Jenkins, it's again a script-based model, and you have to execute the complex scripts to do a rollback, right? But Spinnaker natively does those rollback scenarios, which was an added advantage. So moving on to the next slide. So we really want to consider why Netflix and Google have chosen Spinnaker as their continuous delivery tool. So the first feature of the Spinnaker is its delivery pipeline. So if you consider this is a familiar concept. The pipelines are the familiar concept, either in the CI or CD. The main purpose is to automate the deployment workflow, and you have to make sure that is clearly predictable. And every time you spin up a deployment, it's the same thing that's going to trigger without any deviation. So Spinnaker comes with a very complex pipeline structures, dependencies, variable evaluations that come from the outside, and so on, right? And it is also the multi-cloud. And it integrates with almost all the clouds and with the very big providers. Netflix and Google are the topmost contributors to the open source Spinnaker, and the Optimex are the third contributor. So Netflix uses the AWS and Google uses the GCP. So they make sure that the Spinnaker runs seamlessly on any cloud. And in these present scenarios, we actually have the multi-target deployment. So it's like some applications are still in the monolithic fashion and some are in the microservice-based architecture. And you have the distributed environments. Like one of the environments, say that is in my AWS and your DR is in GCP, and still you wanted to do your deployments onto different clouds. So the beauty of the Spinnaker is that it can integrate with any of the cloud providers, and you can run the same pipeline in any of the clouds. So you just need to change like a few parameters to make it run to any other cloud. Say you have designed a pipeline in AWS and you wanted to deploy to Azure, or you wanted to use the same pipeline to deploy onto the Azure. You can use the same pipeline. You can copy and paste the JSON template of it into the Azure cloud, and still you can use it until and unless you have a cloud specified parameters. So that's about the multi-cloud deployments. So automated release. So if you consider the automated release, Spinnaker has a numerous number of integrations, such as like cron jobs, to make them available, and the cron jobs, triggers, and the variable dependencies to make the release as smooth as possible. And it supports the agile methodology and fulfills it as well. The next thing is, I just wanted to give you a small example of like how the automated release with Spinnaker looks like. So suppose you have your Jenkins doing your CI part. I mean, when I say the CI part, it is the Jenkins monitors your source code repository and takes the code from the repository, builds the code, creates the image, and push it to the artifactory. So once after you push it to the artifactory, that is the right side of your continuous integration, Spinnaker can take over from there. So Spinnaker can monitor your Jenkins or your artifactory, and then can trigger a pipeline. So all this release, the CI/CD can be done, can be automated using Spinnaker. The other one is build deployment strategy. So if you consider the deployment strategies, we have like blue-green deployments, canary deployments, and Highlanders. So all these are inbuilt in the Spinnaker, and you need not write a too long code to support all these strategies. They're like inbuilt. And suppose you are using a tool to do all these things. The tool inbuilt should have the capability to handle these, and also it should have the traffic shaping mechanism, because all these strategies, the main thing is the traffic here. So it should have the default traffic handling capability. So Spinnaker has everything, all sort of this thing, and can be done in the minimum efforts. So if you consider the challenges that Jenkins poses when you're using it in the continuous deployment, the first thing that comes into our mind is the script-based deployment. So those who are familiar with the Jenkins and you try to extend Jenkins to do the continuous deployment, right? So it's generally based on scripting, and you need to maintain the script release over release, and eventually you'll have a team managing only the scripts. And later, suppose you have the vulnerability detected in Jenkins by your security team, and you have the pressure from the team to upgrade your Jenkins server, then the first thing that comes to your mind is like, oh, I have written all these scripts. If I upgrade my Jenkins servers, does any of these break? How about the compatibility with different plugins? So if you consider all these perspectives, Spinnaker usually go ahead and deploy the code very fast. It handles the scale, and we need not worry about maintaining the scripts and the compatibility. So the next thing is the plugin-based management. As I said, Jenkins does every job based on the usually based on the scripting, right? So the more and more complex scripts has made their ways into plugins. And now that we have very large environments and the large plugin dependencies, there are too many wrappers on top of Jenkins. Like, as Jenkins was not designed to handle this microservice-based architecture or even the cloud infrastructure, you'll have all the wrappers to give an additional advantage to the Jenkins to handle all this. But if you consider Spinnaker, Spinnaker is the one that was designed using the microservice-based architecture, and it has the and it also has the capacity to natively interact with the cloud infrastructure. So that is the added advantage here which Spinnaker brings in. So verification and approvals. So if you're already using the Jenkins Enterprise version of Spinnaker, you would have already known like how much importance we have given to these stages. So we basically call it as a command and the control layer. Jenkins has introduced a layer of intelligence on top of the Spinnaker's manual decision process. For those who already know Spinnaker, or who already was familiar with Spinnaker, you would have known like how the manual judgment looks like. So it's just the dump stage which promotes it to the next stage of your pipeline or something like that. But we have an intelligent layer. Jenkins Enterprise for Spinnaker has an intelligent layer on top of it called Autopilot, which helps you in managing these stages very intelligently. So I'll just explain you like how the Autopilot will work. Like if you're doing a canary deployment, and if you wanted to pressure test the code in your dev or IAT environment, so and you wanted to check more than the pass-fail scenario, what you would generally do or what you would manually do is like go into your log collector, be it Elasticsearch or any other thing, and also view at your metrics like Prometheus, the metrics collector. So you compare your logs and metrics, and then come to a situation whether I'm good to go in this particular scenario, whether my code that we have deployed is going correct or not. So Autopilot has an intelligence and does everything based on AI ML based algorithms. So this is how exactly it analyzes the risk and it takes the earlier previous runs into consideration and the baseline that you have already deployed over the series of the deployment. So it will consider the baseline and canary, and then analyzes your metrics logs, and then give you and then it just surfaces the dangerous things that are dangerous or the anomalies in your deployments or in your code, and then it'll give you the percentage, like what percent is it successful or failure. So adding all these verification gates as a verification and the approval gates on top of the Spinnaker is one of the core features of the Jenkins. So to measure the quality of the release and highlight the risk that might be there in your canary, is little tougher to do with Jenkins. Again, it's a scripting exercise. So you have to write the complex scripts for it to do. So Spinnaker is the one that does it defaultly, and which takes care of the velocity of the code along with the risk and the quality management. So the next thing is the visibility feature of the Spinnaker. So when you're talking about the visibility, it is the one that shows you or visualizes the post-deployment features of the Spinnaker and its ability to interact with the Kubernetes engine or any other engine on which you have deployed to, and who deployed what, or where exactly is it deployed, and by whom it is deployed. So all these can be visualized in the Spinnaker UI, and I'll be showing it to you in my demo. So if you're considering the build statistic, build context, Jenkins gives you the execution output, right? So when you're talking about the deployment context, the execution output is not exactly sufficient, but we need something more than that. Where the Spinnaker really shines in this area of the post-deployment strategies. So the summary is that, so if you want to extend Jenkins to do your continuous deployment, it is really hectic. And with the Spinnaker, you need not do much hard work. And as it has a default capability to integrate with your infra or with your cloud providers, it seamlessly does your deployments with additional features like visibility, verification, audit, governance, and everything. So for your continuous delivery, we recommend a tool like Spinnaker, which tops Jenkins in its continuous delivery. So here, I just wanted to explain you a sample pipeline. So if you consider this flow, we have the GitHub as a source code repository, and Jenkins monitoring your GitHub, building the image and pushing it to your artifact tree. And we have on the right side the Spinnaker, which does the deployment part for us. And this is a simple pipeline which explains the simple canary analysis. So we have a canary deployment. We have a baseline which is already deployed, and we wanted to deploy on top of it, say version V2, and we wanted to check whether the code which we have done is properly. We wanted to do a canary analysis, and based on that, we have to decide whether we have to deploy it or not. Once, if we consider the code is good, we can go ahead and deploy it. And once after, it can deploy on any of the cloud providers like AWS, Azure, OpenShift, OpenStack, etc. So this is a simple pipeline which I wanted to show you that. And if you're coming to the Opsimics, so Spinnaker for Opsimics Enterprise for Spinnaker handles the deployments and complex pipelines and allows the verification by comparing the baseline or the new canary versions and routing the traffic between them. Spinnaker handles it very well. OES, what Opsimics Enterprise for Spinnaker does is it simplifies the way in deploying the applications, in the lifecycle management and the security. And on top of it, we have an AI/ML based tool called Autopilot, as I've already mentioned, which takes care of the verification and traffic shaping. As I said, it is designed based on the complex algorithms of AI and ML. And it just compares both baseline and canary and says how close both the baseline and canary are. And it also covers the issues related to the visibility, governance that come into the picture when you have the most critical environments. So as of the Optimix Enterprise for Spinnaker, we cover the functionality that is inbuilt in Spinnaker, but very difficult to implement. So this is the added advantage we bring on top of the Spinnaker. So if you see this slide, these are the various integrators for which you can attach those that can be attached to the OES. So if you still you can visit the Optimix website for your for the complete list of integrations. And if you have any of the integrations that are not available on our webpage, you can contact us, and we are happy to help you. So today I'll be showing you a small demo on how to do the CI/CD flow, and I just want you to also walk through the deployment that happens on a VM and that happens on the Kubernetes. So let us go into the demo. So I'll just explain like how my pipeline exactly looks like. So I have my REST app application, and I have my REST app application, and if I do any changes to my GitHub repository, it triggers my Jenkins job, and the Jenkins job pushes the image to my Docker hub, which is my Artifactory, and once the image is pushed into the Docker, your Spinnaker pipeline gets triggered. So this is my flow. So let us see an action now. So here I'm making a small change to my GitHub. So my code is committed into the Git, and Jenkins monitors my code, and so I had my job triggers. So Jenkins GitHub is once after the commit is done, Jenkins is triggering my build job, and what this build job does is like it builds the code and pushes the image into your Docker hub. So if you see the this job is completed, so you can see that it automatically triggers the Spinnaker pipeline. So we just monitor it. So it will automatically get triggered with so it got automatically triggered, right? So I'll just show you how this job looks like. So if you see the configuration part, we'll have too many automated triggers. So you'll have the Travis as your automated trigger, webhooks, Docker registry, your pub subs, and even the one Spinnaker pipeline can also trigger another Spinnaker pipeline. And you can have the Jenkins Jenkins trigger, Git trigger, crons, artifactories, your helm. So these are the automated triggers which Spinnaker by default has. And moving on to the next stage, it just checks what are the images that I'm getting here. and my Git commits, my tags. I'm just retrieving from my Jenkins build, and I'm trying to do a deployment here. So this is my manifest, deployment manifest, simple deployment manifest. So if you see the job now, so it is already deployed. So this is my run, and it got deployed. So let us go into the server. So you have the rest of deployment, which is 96 seconds ago. And I have my service as well. So I'll just port forward the service just to show how the UI looks like. Oh. So I'll refresh this. So I have appended this continuous delivery using Spinnaker. So this is so it is this easy using the Spinnaker. The deployment seems to be very easy. And if you consider the VM-based deployment, I'll show you the VM-based deployment and how the traffic shaping happens in this. So you have two pipelines called bake and deploy AWS. What the bake stage generally does is like, so if you see this is a bake stage. What it does is like, it takes a base image from us, and on top of this base image, we'll have the custom code that has to be deployed, be it our application. So we give the custom configuration inside the Spinnaker. So when you do the bake, it completely builds the AMI image, and with this AMI image, you can do the deployment into the AWS cluster or Azure or GCP or anything. So it collects the artifacts from your bake stage and does a deployment. So if you see the deployment here, so if you see the strategies, so these are basically the deployment strategies with Spinnaker support. You'll have the red black, rolling red black, monitored and deploy, rolling push, Highlander, custom strategies. Or if you have a custom deployment strategies like blue, green, canary, you can use this custom. So I'm at present using the red, black, and rolling back to the previous server group at the deployment phase. So this is what I've checked in. And so it creates the load balancers. I can show you the load balancing thing. So this is a visibility feature. So if you click on this, you can see like you can see the capacity, and you can do the scaling actions here. If you want to do a rollback, it's just simply a click and it does a rollback. And if you want to resize, or you want to disable this or enable, destroy, clone, so all these options come by default in Spinnaker, and we do not do any additional scripting to do this. And if you see the load balancer, so this is my load balancer. I think there was a little glitch. Somebody has removed my server group. Okay. So you can see the load balancing thing here in the Spinnaker. So what it actually does is like it will load balance between your version 0 and version 1. So if it sees that version 1 is unhealthy, it will go ahead and send the traffic only to the version V00 version 0. As we have selected the red-black strategy, red-black as a deployment strategy in our deployment. So if you see here, as I have chosen my deployment strategy as red-black, it will either forward the traffic to your new version or to your old version based on the cloud check it does. So this is a simple VM-based deployment. Any questions as of now?
Sorry, yeah, we have I was talking to myself. We have a couple of questions. One is around, does Spinnaker work specifically with cloud-based Jenkins? You covered that a little bit, but didn't know if you wanted to highlight that a little bit more or kind of continue on.
Sorry, can you get it again, Brent?
Does OpsMX Spinnaker work with Jenkins?
Right.
Yeah, and we're kind of going over that, but does it work with all elements of Jenkins or one specific element?
It can work with all the elements of Jenkins. So if you see this here, let me show you the pipeline. So I have my Jenkins trigger. So what you can do is like you can automate you can add a trigger here, and you can select your job, and you can pass on the external parameters to your Jenkins. So sorry, from Jenkins to your Spinnaker, and based on that you can take the necessary actions, like your deployments and everything. So you can get the parameters from the Jenkins and pass it on to Spinnaker. So it supports all the features of.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We have one other question, and then I want to let you finish up, and we'll get back to the other questions. This is from the same person. Do we support deployments with Tanzu Kubernetes Grid Integration Edition?
At present, it's no.
We do not.
Yeah, if it is a native Kubernetes thing, it supports to. Like if you have any, like the basic functionalities of the Spinnaker are available in this sort of Kubernetes. But if you are expecting the other features, yes, it is supported by VMA, right? The basic features of Spinnaker are still available on this version of Kubernetes. And if it is something very complicated, you would have to do the custom stages to enhance its features.
Okay. The question also has an appended to it. It is supported by VMware.
Yes. It is supported by VMware, right? And okay. It supports any native Kubernetes flavors. Even the OpenShift it supports. So you'll not have any problem with the Tanzu as well.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to let you finish through the rest of the presentation. I know you have a few more, but we are starting to get some questions in. We will get to your guys' questions at the end of the presentation. It'll be only a few more minutes. So let's let you finish up and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. I thought you had one more. So we'll just jump right into the poll here, everyone. We have another poll, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So I'm going to launch a poll for everyone, and we'll go from there. We'll have this poll up for a few minutes. You guys can answer those questions, and we will move on to a little Q&A session. We're starting to see some good questions coming for you, Smita.
Yeah.
And we'll go about another minute and I will close that poll. Thank you everybody for interacting. We're getting a lot of really great responses here.
So if you want to if you want to give a try on, so if you want to try Spinnaker, or if you want to ask help from any of our engineers, you can always go to our website and give it a free trial. So it's a SaaS instance. You can use as you like, and you'll have all the features of Spinnaker along with the Optimix Enterprise versions for it.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you for going over that as well. You know, that's a great opportunity for people to see the power of OpsMX and how it can really help with all the different integrations and specifically Spinnaker. So thank you for showing that. You know, once again, thank you for the great presentation. We'll go through the second poll we just did. Now we're going to go a little bit into the Q&A. So if people have more questions, go ahead and use either the chat box or the question feature. But I'm going to go with the first one here that I have is, how do you deploy the app onto different clusters based off the environment once Jenkins pushes the code to the hub using Spinnaker?
So
a little more on that. You know, if we have 3 different pipelines in 3 different environments, how does it manage that?
So you have the 3 different pipelines and 3 different environments.
Okay.
So Spinnaker by default take care of this, and you'll have something called assume role for this inside the Spinnaker. So it can, I mean, like it is capable of handling these kinds of deployments.
Awesome. Another question we have specifically for the blue-green deployments in AWS. Is there a specific advantage of using Spinnaker over AWS developer code, you know, for code deployment or code pipeline?
So if you're using the AWS native tool, and so let us suppose like you wanted to switch your environment from AWS to GCP, maybe over a long run, or you have your DR in your GCP. Like you have written all your things. These are cloud cloud specific features like code deploy and code pipeline. These are all cloud specific. So if you still wanted to do your deployment on GCP or any other thing, it will become, again, that's an exercise for you. Like you have to refigure it out or reconfigure the settings, and you have to do it. But the same pipeline which you have written in Spinnaker can work in any of the cloud, any of the native Kubernetes, vanilla flavor of Kubernetes.
Excellent. Well, thank you for answering that. We have a few more questions I want to get through. This one's around the GitOps model. How can Spinnaker support the GitOps model?
So, so it's like the configuration which I've showed you. So all these are the microservices inside the Spinnaker and the Optimix Enterprise for Spinnaker. So the configuration related to this can be stored in any of the SVNs or your source control, source management tools. Sorry, your version control tools, or even in the S3 or in the Vault. So the configuration can be loaded from there. Spinnaker defaultly has that ability to do. So definitely it supports GitOps models.
Excellent. This one, another one is specifically around applications. They have applications in VM hosted cloud. And how can they deploy using OpsMX Spinnaker tools to the different VM clouds?
Okay, so the one which I've shown you is in my demo is the same one. So if you see in my demo, I've deployed to the AWS, but I'm running my Spinnaker in GCP. So
okay, so you were basically doing that model with the demo you were providing.
Right.
Excellent. And you talked a little bit about third-party tools, but this one's kind of specific. how does OpsMX integrate with all the different third-party tools and such as something as like Prometheus and other tools like that?
So if you consider the number of the indicators we have provided in the demo, like so for these are the integrators that are supported by OES at this moment. And if you want any more integrators, what we just need is the API calls to that, and any application which has an API can be integrated with Spinnaker and the OES very seamless. So it's just the APIs that has to be taken care of.
Awesome. We have another one, which I'm sure everybody has problems with, is what if GitHub is down in the GitOps model? Will Spinnaker still work?
Yes, Spinnaker has the capability to load the configuration from the previous run. Like it pulls the GitHub and keeps the configuration with it, and it compares the new run. And if there is any change, it will append the new run on top of it. Else, it will go ahead and deploy the old one. So that's how it is. If your GitHub is down, maybe the recent change wouldn't reflect in your system, but still it functions.
Awesome. I think we got one more question for you, and then I think we can wrap this up unless anybody else has any more questions. So this one kind of goes into the specifics of integrations as well, is do we have any telco cloud automation tools currently? Is it basically your standard hook, or will that have to be something custom possibly?
Can you repeat that, Ben?
Any integrations with telco cloud automation, so telecom?
So integrations with the telco cloud. So it, as I said, it's simply it supports any native cloud deployments. Like if you're using the vanilla flavor or AKS or EKS, it integrates by default. I mean, like we do not need any additional plugins for that. And if you want additional features, like AWS has its Lambda functions. So if you want to ask Spinnaker or to let Spinnaker also use those capabilities, you will have the custom stages in Spinnaker by which you can use it. So the same way, the same thing goes or applies to other clouds as well.
Well, excellent. I think that's all the questions that we have. So Smita, thank you again for the great presentation, and thank you everybody who is attending. We will be sending out a recording and getting the deck out to you all in a short amount of time. So thank you again, everybody. Have the great rest of your day, and thanks for attending our webinar. Bye.
Thank you.